In today's video, I'm going to show you step by step how you can paint this illustration in Procreate. Before you start, make sure to download the color palette and that you have all my free brushes. Link is in the description. And for this specific tutorial, I made some new brushes that are available for all of my patrons, also the free members. So before you start, make sure that you also download these brushes. All you have to do is sign up as a free member on my Patreon. And if you enjoyed this video and would like to get more tutorials like this, consider subscribing to my Patreon. I add their new video every week and you can learn different styles and techniques. And with all that being said, grab your drawing tools, relax, and let's start. Let's make a new canvas, A4 canvas from Procreate. And first we're going to add some colors to the sky. Let's pick first color, color number 1. Just drag and drop it in here. Now we can add here a lighter color. Let's take the color, take color number 2. And now we can pick the brush. Let's go to my Siakulaart special brushes. And we can take here this one, watery. Let's make the brush size 33. And some over here, we can just add this like that. Okay, now let's take another color, color number 3, and add it a little bit lower. Up to here it's enough. Let's blend this a little bit better. Let's take the smudge tool, let's tap on it again, and set it to the same brush, so watery from my Siakulaart special brushes. Let's make the brush size maybe even bigger now, 54. And just swipe here on this to blend those colors nicely. Okay, so the sky is ready. Let's move on and we can draw the land in the back. So let's make a new layer for this. Let's pick the color. Let's take color number 8. And now let's change the brush. We are going to stay here in the Siakulaart special brushes. And let's take this one, landscape. With the brush size 10%. Somewhere over here, a little bit lower than half of the canvas, we can draw a land like this. Okay, let's color the bottom part of this. So drag and drop the color in here. And let's add here a little bit more color inside. So let's take color number 9 and just draw here some lines like this. Okay, and we can blend this. So let's take the smudge tool, tap on it again, and now let's set it to the same brush, so landscape, from my Siakulaart special brushes. With the brush size 11, we can now just swipe on this and mix those colors in this way. This illustration will be in a painterly style, so we are not going to bother here with drawing anything precise. This has to be loose, a little bit abstract. Okay, so like this is enough. Now we can draw the land, the hill that is in front of this one. So let's make a new layer for this. Let's change the color. Take color number 10. Let's take the brush. And now draw a land over here. Maybe like that. Let's color the bottom part. And now we can add here another color, color number 12. And again, we can just add here some lines like this. And we're going to smudge it. So let's take the smudge tool and now just smudge this. So like this is enough. Now we can draw the land that will be the closest to us. So let's make a new layer for this. Let's change the color, take color number 12, Let's draw this over here. Maybe like that. Color the bottom part. And in the same way, we can add here now different color. So let's take color number 13 and just add here some lines like that. Okay, now let's smudge this. And this will be enough. Maybe now we can draw here some flowers. For this we can make a new layer. We can pick the color for the flowers. Let's take color number 17. And let's change the brush. Let's use here this one, Flowers, from my siakulaart special brushes. With the brush size 41, we can just stamp here some flowers like this. Okay. Let's add here some white flowers too. Let's take color number 18. Maybe these ones we can make smaller, 25%. And just add few of them over here. Like that. And now we can start adding here some shadow and light. So let's start here with adding shadow from those flowers. We are going to duplicate this layer. So swipe on it to the left and pick duplicate. And now let's take the bottom layer over here. And we are going to change the color of all of those flowers. To do it easily and quickly, we can just tap here and pick select. At the bottom now, let's make sure that color fill is on. And we can pick the color. Let's take color number 13. When you open the layers, now all those flowers are in this color. We are going to change the blending mode of this. Let's tap here and set it as multiply. Let's move this out a little bit. Let's take the arrow tool. With the uniform option selected, we can very lightly move it outside over here to the right and bottom side, like this. Let's tap here to finish this. And now we are going to smudge this a little bit. So let's take the smudge tool. Let's make the brush size smaller, 5%. And we can just smudge this a little bit here, left and right, like that, creating here some different kind of shadows, making this more interesting. On the same layer, we can add general shadows to this whole length over here. Before we do that, let's set this layer as clipping mask. So let's tap here and pick your clipping mask. So this means that now whatever we'll draw here will be visible only on the shape that is on the layer underneath. We can keep here this dark green color. And let's take the brush, let's tap on it. Let's change it back to the landscape brush. With the brush size maybe 5%. We can just add here some more shadow like that. Let's draw here some kind of, let's call them grass strands over here. Some kind of spots. Let's make the brush size even smaller now, 3%. And over here we can draw the grass strands. We can add here some other spots like that. And now let's smudge this. Let's take the smudge tool and just smudge this. Like I said before, this will be a very loose illustration. So really don't bother about being here precise or trying to draw some specific shape. This is the beauty of this kind of style, that you don't have to focus on drawing here anything specific. We're just playing here with the shadows and lights and general shapes. I think like this is enough. Now we can add here some light. Let's make a new layer for this. We are also going to set it as clipping mask, but now we can change the blending mode of this to add. Let's pick the color for the lights. Take color number 4. So in the same way we can draw here some spots of lights, a little bit of grass strands, just make it look interesting. And then let's add here some light here at the top edge of this hill. This way we're going to make it pop against the other one, especially if we're going to add here some darker color at the bottom of the other one. We'll do it in a second. So something like this is fine. Let's smudge this. And don't worry if you think this is too bright. We are going to turn down the opacity of this layer in a second. So this will blend nicely with the rest of the illustration. Okay, so we can turn down the opacity of this now. Let's tap here. And I will make it here 74%. Let's add a little bit of light on the flowers too. So let's go to this layer over here, make a new layer on top, set it as clipping mask, change it to add. And we can just draw here on top of those flowers. Let's take the brush on the left top side, like that. Just in few spots. We can make them brighter. Okay. And let's smudge this too. And now we can turn down the opacity of this. I will make it 62%, and you can see the difference now. It's very subtle, but it adds something to this illustration. Okay, now we can move on to the hill that is in the middle over here. So it's this layer. We are going to add here shadow and light in a similar way. Let's make a new layer on top, set it as clipping mask, and change it to multiply. Let's change the color. Let's take color number 11 now. Take the brush. Let's make the brush size bigger, 8%. And let's make here the bottom part of it darker, like that. So now this front hill will pop more. And then in general, we can just add here some shapes like that. Okay, and let's smudge this. We can keep here this bottom edge maybe not so smudged, so this will be quite dark. And to make this edge here even darker, we can change the color. We can take color number 13 and just draw here right at the edge, like that. Okay. And now it's smudged very gently. Okay. So now let's add here the light. Let's make a new layer for this. Set it as clipping mask and change it to add. Let's take our color for the light, color number 4, and add it here to the top edge, like that, and then just in few places in the middle. Maybe over here. Okay, and let's smudge this. Let's turn down the opacity of this. I will make it here 51%. And now we can do the same to the heel in the back. So this one, let's make a new layer on top, set it as clipping mask, change it to multiply. Let's take here color number 9, and we can darken here this bottom part. And then just add here a few other shades and smudge this. Okay, and now let's add the lights. Let's make a new layer for this, set it as clipping mask, change it to add, and take color number 4. Let's brighten up the top edge, like that, and just a little bit here. Let's smudge this. And now turn down the opacity. I will make this one 54%. Okay? Now let's draw here the mountains in the back. So for this, let's go to the layer of the sky and make a new layer on top. Let's pick the color, take color number 6, and let's change the brush. For this, maybe we can take this one, universal brush. Let's make the brush size maybe 13, and just draw here some kind of heel shape. And color this. Okay. Now let's define this shape of the heel. We'll do it with a different color. We are going to draw here shadows on it. So now we want to color only on this shape. To do it easily, we can just set this layer as alpha lock. So tap here and pick alpha lock. Now let's change the color. Take color number 7. We can make the brush maybe a little bit smaller, 9%. And just draw here some kind of shapes like this, creating here shadows on those mountains. So my shadows are on the right side because the light is coming from this direction. We are going to draw here sun in a second. So just add it here like that. And now we are going to smudge this. Let's take the smudge tool, but let's set it to the same brush that we're using. So let's go here and take here the universal brush. With the brush size 12%, now we can just smudge this like that, creating here softer edges. But let's do it just in few places. I think like this will be enough. And now I would like this whole mountain shape to not be so sharp. We are going to blur this. But to do that, we have to turn off the alpha lock on this layer. So let's tap here and turn off alpha lock. And now we can go to the adjustments and take Gaussian blur. Swipe your pencil on the screen to the blur size, and we can do it very, very lightly. Let's make it maybe here 2%. Okay, let's tap here to finish this. Now we're going to make the bottom part of this a little bit darker. So to do it, let's make a new layer on top of this one. Set it as clipping mask. We are going to change the blending mode of this to multiply. And we can use here this dark color, color number 7. Let's change the brush. Let's take the watery brush from my Siakulaart special brushes. And with the brush size 24, we can add this here to the bottom part of the mountain like this. Let's take the smudge tool. Let's set it to the same brush, watery brush, with a size 28. We can now make this edge here at the top softer. And we can also add here some extra light on this mountain. So for this we can make a new layer on top, set it as clipping mask, and change it to add. Now let's change the color. Take color number 4. We can change the brush. Let's go back here to the universal brush. With a brush size 7%, we can just brighten up some parts of the lighter parts of the mountains to give here some extra light on them, like this. Not everywhere, just in few places. And now let's smudge this. We can use now the watery brush. Let's make the brush size smaller, 3%. And just smudge here the edge. Make it softer. Okay, and let's turn down the opacity of this. Let's make it very subtle. I will make it here 7%. So it's there, but it's not too bright. Now let's draw the sun. So for this, we're going to make a new layer on top of the sky. So let's go over here and let's make a new layer. We can start here with this color that we have now, color number 4. Let's change the brush. Let's take now here universal watery brush with the brush size 22%. Somewhere over here we can start drawing a circle. Like this. Now let's change the color. Take color number 5. And we can draw around it like this. Okay. Now we can smudge this. Let's take the smudge tool. It is set to the watery brush. Let's make the size 11. And we can start mixing those colors like this and spread it out over here on the edges. This way we are getting here this nice painterly effect. Just keep drawing here kind of in a circular motion to make this look nice. I would say this is enough. So now we can draw the main element of our illustration, which will be the tree. It will be here on this front length. So we can go to the top layer over here and make a new layer on top of it. Let's pick the color. Take color number 14. And let's change the brush. For this we can use the universal brush. Let's make the brush size 6%. And just draw here somewhere over here a tree trunk. So just like this. Let's draw some branches coming up over here. And now let's make the brush size smaller, 3%. And we can draw some more branches coming to the outside, like that. You can draw some bigger and smaller ones. You can add a few kind of like somewhere out there. Okay, so like this. I'm going to move my tree just a little bit to the left. So I will take the arrow tool, and with the uniform option selected, I can just move it over here. Okay. And then I will tap here to finish this. So now let's start drawing the leaves. First, we're going to add the leaves in the back of this tree trunk. So let's make a new layer and put it under that tree trunk layer. And as you can see, now it set itself as clipping mask. We have to turn this off. Okay. And now let's pick the color for the leaves. Let's take color number 15. Let's pick the brush. And over here, we are going to go to the all Patreon brushes, the ones that I was talking at the start of this video. And you can pick which shape do you like. You can take this shape or maybe this one. I'm going to go for this one. So we can start now with this brush without the colors. Let's make the brush size maybe 15. And just stamp here some kind of leaves behind that tree, like that. You don't have to stamp here everywhere, but we want to make sure that there will be some leaves in the back too. So we don't want to leave this empty. Right away, we can add here some variation by adding some shadow on them. So let's make a new layer on top of this one, set it as clipping mask, and change this to multiply. Let's stamp it in few places. This way we're going to get here some darker shades in few spots. Let's keep it closer to the tree trunk. Okay. And we can turn down the opacity of this. We don't want it to be so dark. I'm going to make it here 38%. Okay. So now we can add some leaves on top of the tree trunk. So let's go to this layer over here, make a new layer on top. And let's stamp now some leaves over here. So you can stamp it in the way that you will leave some branches visible. Don't cover all of it. So I think like this will be enough. We can now add here extra layer with some lighter leaves. Let's make a new layer for this. Let's change the color. Take color number 16. And over here we can add the color variation. So let's take this brush, Leafy Colors. Let's take the same brush size. I think it was 17. And let's stamp some of this in few places. Okay, and now we can add here some light on top of those leaves. Let's make a new layer for this. Set it as clipping mask. Change it to add. Let's take the light color, color number 4. And we can just stamp this in few places. just to brighten this up a little bit on the left side. Let's turn down the opacity of this. I will make it here 17%. And now let's add some shadows on that layer of the leaves underneath this one. So this layer over here, let's make a new layer on top, set it as clipping mask, change it to multiply, and let's take color number 15. And we can now just stamp here some shadow under those lighter colors of the leaves, like this. Okay, and let's turn down the opacity of this. I'm going to make it here 52%. So the leaves are ready. Let's add some shadow on the tree trunk. So let's go over here to the layer of it, make a new layer on top, set it as clipping mask, change it to multiply, and we can take that color of the tree trunk, color number 14. Let's change the brush. Let's go back here to my Siakulaart special brushes and the universal brush with the brush size 3%. We can just add it now on the right side like this, and a little bit on the bottom of the branches. This will be enough. And we can smudge it a little bit. So let's take the smudge tool, make it small, 3%, and smudge this just a tiny bit. In the same way, we can add now here some light. So let's make a new layer for this, set it as clipping mask, change it to add. Let's take color number 4, take the brush, and add it here on the left side, like that. Maybe just in few spots on the branches, maybe there's some light coming in there, but not too much. And let's take the smudge tool and smudge this. Okay, turn down the opacity of this. I will make it 34%. Now we are still missing shadow from this tree. So let's go here to the layer of the shadows on this land, this one. Let's change the color. Let's take color number 13. And we can just add it now over here like that. Let's smudge this, but for the smudge now let's go and take here this landscape brush with the brush size 4%. We can now smudge this a little bit. Okay, and let's go back to the leaves for a second. And we are going to make here this part darker, the right side darker. Let's go here to this shadow layer on the leaves in the back. We can make a new layer on top of this one, set it as clipping mask and change it to multiply 2. Let's take color number 15. Let's change the brush. Let's take the watery brush, make the brush size 20 and just darken here this side like that. We can now do the same to those front leaves. So let's go over here, make a new layer on top, set it as clipping mask, change it to multiply, and darken this a little bit. And now those top leaves over here, let's make a new layer on the lights on it, set it as clipping mask, change it to multiply, and we can make them also darker over here. This way this will connect with the whole scene better. Like this will be enough. To finish this illustration, we can still make here this bottom part a little bit darker. For this, we can just make a new layer on top of everything here. We're going to set this as multiply. And we can take color number 14. We can use here this watery brush. Let's make the brush size bigger, around 39%. And just add this here to the bottom part like this. And now we can take it away in few places on those flowers. So let's take the eraser, let's tap on it. We can set it here to the landscape brush. Let's make the brush size 5%. And now we can just erase this here in few places on those flowers only. We can maybe for this just select the flowers layer. This will be easier. So let's go to this layer over here, tap on it and pick select. At the bottom, turn off color fill. And now let's go to that top layer, this multiply layer, and just erase here this in few places, because maybe now some of them are too dark. Okay, and let's smudge this, make the smudge to 4%. Tap here to finish this, and we can turn down the opacity of this just a little bit. I will make it here 85%. Now you can see the difference with this and without it. I think it looks better, so I'm going to keep it. And in the end, we can still make this front heel pop a little bit more by adding here some more light on the edge. So let's go to the light on it. It's this layer over here. Let's take the color for the light, color number 4. Take the brush, the watery brush. With the brush size now smaller, let's make it about 14. We can now add it here to the top edge, like that. Make this pop more. And now let's smudge this. I'll still add here maybe some light over here, like that, and smudge it too. I think now this looks very nice. Okay, and let's brighten up the left side of the tree. So we can make for this a new layer on top of everything. Let's select now those top leaves over here, this layer, tap here and pick select. Let's go to that new layer over here. We have to change it to add. We have our brush, the watery brush, size 35. Let's make this brighter, like that. Now we have to select here the other leaves, these ones. Let's tap here and pick select. Let's go to the new layer, the add layer, add it over here. Okay, and now the layer with the leaves in the back. So this layer over here, tap here and pick select. Let's go to the new layer, this one, and also add it over here. Let's turn off the selection so we can see better, and now we can turn down the opacity of this. Let's make it maybe 33%. Let's see the difference. I think this looks better. Okay, so now this illustration is finished. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you can share your drawing with me on Instagram. I would love to see it. And if you would like to get more tutorials like this, make sure to check out my Patreon. Link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye!